few weeks ago, we were dropping some stuff off at Goodwill, my daughter and I. And on the way back, she wanted to go into the grocery store to pick up some red Solo cups so she could do some stacking with her brothers and sisters. And so we went in there, and then I was like, oh, wait, we need a few more things. So we run around, we grab a few more of those things. We've got red Solo cups. We've got some pancake mix. I think we had some syrup. And I think we had a frozen pizza. Few things, couldn't have been more than like 14 or 15 bucks. We get to the checkout, and it hits me. I don't have my wallet. Now, this is one of those moments that happens quite often, I'm going to be honest. I'm not always good with keeping my wallet on me. And usually I would always be primed to use my Apple Pay, but my Apple Pay hasn't been working the way that it was supposed to, and I've just kind of given up trying to get it to work. It's not an Apple issue, it's a bank issue, but I've just given up. So I didn't have that as my primary backup. And the grocery store we were at only accepts debit cards. And so if you don't have that or cash, you're pretty much SOL. And the only other thing we had was my daughter's bag of cash, which wasn't a whole lot. It was about maybe $9.50 when it came down to the brass tacks. And as I'm talking to my daughter, I was like, hey, we got to go back and put some stuff back. We can get your red Solo cups, but we'll put back all the stuff, the extra stuff that we were getting. And within that moment, this dad next to me, we were at the self-checkout, so it was kind of a little bit more self-managed. This dad next to me just reaches over and says, don't worry about it. I got you. And I've never met the dad. He was there with his family with 3 kids, his wife. And out of the blue, he's just like, don't worry about it. I got you. So we finish ringing it up. We ring it up, put everything in bags, and he pays for it. And it's about, once we used my daughter's money, and there was maybe like $6 or $7 left that he had to cover. And he just did it. I've never met him again. I've never seen it again. But that moment really took me back because it can be easy to forget there's good people in the world. It can be easy to forget there is good. It can be easy to forget that you're not alone in this journey. Now, that is an embarrassing moment when you forget your wallet, especially your daughter has to see it and you have to go through it and all that good stuff that goes with it. But what do you do? In that moment, that dad reached into my life and said, hey, I got you. Now, there was a couple different angles to this that I want to kind of point out that I realized as I was thinking about it in my home. One, he taught his kids a lesson when they were watching. Now, his 3 kids were old enough to learn the lesson. They were maybe like 6, 7, maybe 10. And within that moment, there's saw their dad do something really generous. He didn't have to, but he did. And kids are always watching. And so I can't help but wonder that little micro example of him helping me out in a moment he didn't have to, but he did. And then his kids seeing that and understanding, or maybe even on the car ride home for them, hey, Dad, why'd you do that? Like, that's a great teachable moment. Now, you could have easily flown by. You could have easily kept your head down in the dirt, and he could have gone on his merry way. But he didn't. He was looking for an opportunity to help. And maybe he was raised that way as well. So within this idea of kind of just looking for the moments that you don't expect, because I wasn't expecting that moment, and now it's up to me to kind of look for those moments, to pay it forward, to find those moments where another dad maybe has the same situation, and I just cover it. But man, does that kind of kindness just really make you pause in a world that seems very dark and noisy? That happened just a few weeks ago, right down the road. So look for those moments where you can have a teachable moment to your kids, to yourself, and to give the gift of being seen to someone else, like me. There was nothing that I was looking for in that moment, but yet he showed up. And that moment is going to stick with me for a long time. But it's those moments that we really need to illuminate in our life and how they happen and where they happen. It's really going to move the needle and start kind of just leaving these breadcrumbs of how life is supposed to work for our kids, because they are always watching. And so the moral of this story is look for those moments. Receive them when they come to you. And remember, your kids are always watching. So what could you use as an opportunity to teach your kids something in a very invaluable way? But man, that dividends in my life, my daughter's life, because she got to witness it. No idea where it's going to lead, but I know it's going to lead to good places. And I'll be back with you guys again on Monday.